In this video, I'm going to show you how to subtract mixed numbers with regrouping. So let's say we have the problem 3 1/8 minus 1 3/4. As always, when I'm subtracting or adding fractions, I write things vertically. So here is my place values. I have a whole number column on the left, fraction column on the right. Go ahead and set up my problem. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and find common denominators. So my common denominator are 4 and 8. I'm going to use 8. So I'm going to change this to 8s. And I can multiply this by 2 over 2. That's my version of 1 whole. 3 times 2 equals 6. And I'm just going to leave this fraction alone as 1/8. So now that I'm ready to subtract my fractions, I'm thinking 1/8 minus 6/8. Well, I can't do that without getting a negative answer, so I'm going to do some regrouping. So this 3 over here is going to become 2 plus 1, and then I'm going to take that 1 whole and I'm going to move it into my fraction column. Well, I already have a fraction in the fraction column, so when I move my 1 whole over there to that fraction column, I'm going to have to add it to the fraction I already have. Just like with subtracting fractions from whole numbers, my 1 whole, when I regroup it over there, it's going to take the name of the fraction, which in this case is 8ths, and 8/8 is equal to 1 whole. So now all together over here, I have 9/8. So basically what I just did is I renamed my problem as 2 9/8 minus 1 6/8. Notice that 2 9/8 and 3 1/8 are the same thing. So now I can subtract 9/8 minus 6/8 and get 3/8. 2 wholes minus 1 whole equals 1 whole. So my answer is 1 3/8. Let's look at another example. So let's say I have 4 2/5 minus 2 7/9. Line things up vertically. 4 2/5, 2 7/9. Find a common denominator of 5 and 9. I'm going to use 45. 9 times 5 is 45, so I'm going to multiply 7 times 5 and get 35. Notice that this is 1 whole, so I'm not changing my problem. 35 45ths is equivalent to 7/9. 5 times 9 is 45, so 2 times 9 is equal to 18. Again, I multiplied by 1 whole, so we have equivalent fractions here. Now I'm ready to subtract my fractions, but I can't do 18 minus 35 without getting a negative answer. I'm going to do some regrouping. I'm thinking of the 4 as 3 plus 1 whole, and I'm moving this 1 whole into the fraction column. There is already a fraction there, so I'm going to have to add that 1 whole. The name of the fraction is 45ths, and 1 whole equals 45 45ths. All together here, I have 45 plus 18 45ths. So I'm going to add that up. 45 plus 18 is 63. So I have 63 45ths. So what I have just done is I have made a new problem. My new problem is 3 63 45ths minus 2 35 45ths. Now when I say a new problem, I haven't really made a new problem. It's my original problem, just written in a way that allows me to subtract my fractions without getting negative answers. So I'm going to now take my 63 45ths, subtract my 35 45ths. So if I need to do that out to the side, I can. Do some regrouping there. And I have 28 45ths. Now I'm ready to take away my whole numbers. 3 minus 2 equals 1. So my answer is 1 28 45ths. Let's look at one last example. Let's do 4 and 2/8 minus 1 and 5/7. So I'm going to write my problem vertically. 4 and 2/8, 1 and 5/7. I'm going to look for a common denominator of 8 and 7, which I'm going to use 56. And now I'm ready to find equivalent fractions. 7 times 8 and 5 times 8 gives me 40. 8 times 7 and 2 times 7 gives me 14. Again, I've multiplied by one whole, so I've made sure that I found equivalent fractions. I can't do 14 minus 40 unless I want to get a negative answer, so I'm ready to do some regrouping. I'm going to think of this as 3 plus 1 whole, and my 1 whole is what's going to regroup into the fraction column. There is a fraction there, so I'm going to add my 1 whole to that fraction. The name of the fraction was 56, and 1 whole equals 56/56. All together here, I now have 56 plus 14, which is equal to 70. So I now have 70/56. And I now can rewrite my problem or just go ahead and subtract it or as I have it written. My new problem, which is the same as my old problem except written in a way that will allow me to subtract without getting negative numbers, is 3 and 70/56 minus 1 and 40/56. So going back to my original problem and subtracting, I have 70 minus 40, which is 30/56. 3 minus 1 is 2 wholes. So right now I have 2 and 30/56. I'm going to see if I can simplify, and I can. 30 and 56 both share a common factor of 2. So I'm going to divide this by 2 over 2. And I get 15 over 28. So my final answer is 2 and 15 over 28.